You walk through the same park every morning. A pigeon steps aside as you approach. A crow watches from a telephone wire. A mockingbird sings from a nearby tree. To you, they are simply birds. To them, you may already be someone they know, someone they remember, someone they have judged. Most people assume birds see humans the way humans see birds, as a blur of faces, a moving crowd, a collection of strangers too numerous to keep track of. After all, we struggle to remember names ourselves. We forget people we've met only once. We walk past familiar faces without realizing where we know them from. Birds have brains the size of walnuts. So how could they possibly recognize hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of individual people without getting confused? The answer is far stranger than most people realize. Some birds can remember a human face for years after a single encounter. Some can distinguish dangerous people from friendly ones after only 2 brief meetings. Some share information about suspicious humans with other birds. And some possess visual systems so advanced they can see details in faces that most humans would never notice. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. Subscribe before you leave because what you're about to learn is happening every day in parks, neighborhoods, backyards, and city streets all around you. The birds you pass on your morning walk may already know exactly who you are. Stay until the end because the last thing we cover explains why birds can recognize faces so effortlessly and why their eyes may actually outperform ours in ways that seem almost impossible. Number 1. The crow that never forgets your face. Crows are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. But one of their most remarkable abilities has nothing to do with tools, puzzles, or problem solving. It has to do with memory. Researchers discovered that crows can remember individual human faces for years, not days, not weeks, years. In one famous experiment, scientists captured wild crows while wearing a particular mask. The experience was stressful for the birds. Later, those same crows reacted aggressively toward anyone wearing that mask. They called loudly. They followed. They mobbed. What surprised researchers even more was what happened years later. The crows still remembered. Even birds that had never been captured seemed to recognize the threatening face. The information had spread. The warning had been shared socially. A dangerous human had become part of the community's memory. Brain scans later revealed something extraordinary. When crows see a familiar face associated with food, care, or safety, reward centers inside the brain become active. But when they see a face connected with danger, entirely different regions light up. Fear circuits activate, alert systems engage. Their bodies react immediately. They freeze. They blink less. They stare intensely. For a crow, recognizing a face is not just remembering what someone looks like. It is remembering what happened, who helped, who harmed, who can be trusted, and who should never be forgotten. Number 2. The pigeons that secretly study your features. Pigeons are often dismissed as ordinary city birds, but hidden behind those bright eyes is an astonishing ability. Scientists trained pigeons to recognize photographs of individual humans. The birds learn to separate familiar people from strangers with surprising accuracy. Again and again, pigeons selected the correct face. Not clothing, not posture, not movement. Faces. Researchers discovered that pigeons pay attention to many of the same details humans use: eye shape, patterns, color differences, small visual features most people barely notice. But pigeons do something even more interesting. They do not appear to have a single specialized brain region dedicated to faces. Instead, they build recognition from many tiny pieces of information. One group of neurons notices shape. Another responds to color. Another processes contrast. Another examines patterns. Together, these thousands of signals become a memory, a complete identity. This may explain why birds rarely confuse one person with another. They are not memorizing faces the way we memorize a photograph. They are assembling a complex visual fingerprint, thousands of tiny details combined into something unique. The same way you instantly recognize a familiar song after hearing only a few notes. Birds recognize faces through patterns. And patterns are something bird brains are extraordinarily good at remembering. Number 3. The neighborhood birds that can pick you out of a crowd. If you've ever been dive-bombed by a mockingbird, there is a good chance it remembered you. Northern mockingbirds live incredibly close to humans. They build nests in neighborhoods, parks, gardens, front yards. Their survival depends on quickly deciding who is dangerous, and think about that for a moment. A bird weighing less than 2 ounces, living among hundreds of people. Cars, dogs, cyclists, joggers, children, visitors, neighbors, and yet somehow remembering exactly who approached its nest before. Without hesitation, without confusion, without mistakes. What looks like a simple songbird may actually be keeping an incredibly detailed mental record of the people around it. Number 4. Birds may see faces better than we do. Part of this mystery comes down to vision. Bird eyes are extraordinary. Some birds possess 5 times more visual receptors packed into their retinas than humans do. Imagine upgrading from an old television to an ultra-high-definition screen. That is roughly the difference. Birds perceive detail at levels we can barely imagine. Many species also possess something humans do not. 2 regions of extremely sharp focus inside each eye. One specializes in distant objects, the other excels at close vision. It is almost like carrying both a telescope and a magnifying glass at the same time. A bird perched high in a tree can focus on your face from far away. Moments later, it can shift attention to something nearby with almost no loss in clarity. Some birds can even detect ultraviolet light. Patterns invisible to us may appear obvious to them. Subtle contrasts, hidden markings, differences in skin texture, features humans never consciously notice. To a bird, faces may contain far more information than they do to us. We see a person. Birds may see a landscape of unique patterns, a visual signature impossible to mistake, which means the question may not be why birds remember so many faces. The real question may be why humans forget so many. Number 5. What birds know about you. The most fascinating part of all this is not that birds recognize faces. It is that they attach meaning to those faces. A crow remembers who frightened it. A mockingbird remembers who approached its nest. A pigeon remembers familiar people in crowded environments. Even chickens can recognize dozens of flock members and individual humans. Birds are constantly making decisions: safe, unsafe, friend, threat, ignore, avoid, approach, follow. They are building social maps of the world around them, maps that include us, which means the birds visiting your feeder every morning are not simply seeing a human. They may be seeing a specific human, the one who refills the seed, the one who walks the dog, the one who waters the garden, the one who once got too close, the one who has been part of their world for years. And perhaps that changes the way we think about the birds around us. Because when we look outside and see a crow perched on a fence, or a pigeon standing quietly nearby, we often assume we are observing them, but they may have been observing us all along, learning our faces, remembering our habits, tracking our routines, quietly building memories of lives unfolding beside their own. And somewhere in your neighborhood right now, there is probably a bird that already knows exactly who you are. You simply never realized it. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed a bird reacting differently to you than it does to other people? I'd love to hear your story, and I'll see you in the next one.